In the heart of bustling Lagos, Nigeria, an old woman named Abeni sat on the side of a busy street. Her wrinkled face told tales of many years, and her eyes, though weary, still held a spark of hope. Every day, she wore the same faded wrapper and carried a small woven basket where she kept a few naira notes and coins given by kind passersby. Abeni had lived a life full of hard work and sacrifice. She had raised three children, Tund, Kemi, and Aduel, on her own after her husband passed away when the kids were still young. Abeni worked long hours as a seamstress, stitching clothes by the dim light of her small home, just to provide for them. She loved her children dearly and did everything she could to make sure they never went hungry. But times had changed. Her children had grown up and moved away, each carving out their paths in the world. They promised to send money and take care of her, but the promises were as empty as the plates in her tiny kitchen. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet Abeni received no help from her children. Left with almost nothing, Abeni had no choice but to ask for help from strangers. Each morning, she would sit by the busy street, greeting people with a warm smile and a gentle request. Please, can you spare some bread? Some people ignored her, too busy with their own lives to notice the old woman by the road. Others would drop a few coins into her basket or offer a piece of bread with a kind word. Despite her struggles, Abeni remained grateful for any small act of kindness. One hot afternoon, as the sun blazed overhead, Abeni sat in her usual spot, fanning herself with an old piece of cardboard. The street was unusually quiet, and she had received no bread or money that day. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since the day before. Suddenly, the sound of a powerful engine filled the air. A shiny black SUV pulled up near her. The vehicle looked out of place among the dusty old cars that usually passed by. Abeni watched curiously as the driver, a well-dressed man in a sharp suit, stepped out of the car. He was tall and had a kind face, with a gentle smile that reached his eyes. The man looked around for a moment before his gaze settled on Abeni. With a few quick strides, he walked over to her, kneeling down to her level. "Good afternoon, Mama," he greeted warmly. "Are you all right?" Abeni nodded, though she was surprised by his concern. "Good afternoon, my son. I am fine, just a little hungry. I am asking for bread because my children have taken all the money I had." The man looked thoughtful, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a wallet. "I can help you, Mama," he said, taking out a crisp note and placing it in her basket. "But I would also like to know more about your story. Why are you here? And where are your children now?" Abeni's eyes filled with tears at his kindness. She took a deep breath and began to tell him about her life, her children, and how she had come to be sitting on the street, day after day, asking for bread. As she spoke, the man listened intently, his expression growing more serious. "This is not right," he said softly when she finished. "You should not have to beg for food. Let me take you somewhere safe, where you can rest and eat properly. We will find a way to reach your children and make sure they understand their responsibility." Abeni was overwhelmed by his offer. "You are very kind, my son," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But I don't even know your name." The man smiled again, extending his hand to help her up. "My name is Emeka," he said, "and I believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, especially someone as strong as you." With that, Emeka gently guided Abeni towards the SUV. As they drove away, Abeni couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, after all these years, her life was about to change for the better. The city outside the window blurred into a mix of colors and sounds, but inside the car, Abeni felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. As Emeka drove, Abeni gazed out of the window, the familiar streets of Lagos blurring past her. The air inside the SUV was cool and comfortable, a stark contrast to the sweltering heat outside. Emeka hummed softly to a tune playing on the radio, making the journey feel less daunting for Abeni. After a short while, they arrived at a modest yet charming house on the outskirts of the city. The house was surrounded by a small garden, filled with vibrant flowers and neatly trimmed hedges. Emeka parked the car and helped Abeni out, guiding her towards the front door. "This is my home, Mama," he said warmly. "You are welcome here for as long as you need." Abeni's heart swelled with gratitude. She hadn't felt the warmth of a home in so long. As they entered the house, she was greeted by the delicious aroma of cooking. A woman, dressed in a bright Ankara dress, came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She had a radiant smile that lit up the room. "Welcome, Mama," the woman said, embracing Abeni with the familiarity of a long-lost friend. "My name is Chioma. Emeka has told me about you. Please, make yourself comfortable. You must be hungry." Chioma led Abeni to a cozy dining table set with plates of steaming jollof rice, fried plantains, and a bowl of fresh fruit. Abeni's eyes widened in disbelief at the sight. It had been so long since she had seen such a feast. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if it was real. "Go ahead, Mama," Chioma encouraged gently. "Eat as much as you want." With tears of gratitude, Abeni took a bite of the rice. The rich, savory flavors burst in her mouth, bringing back memories of happier times when she cooked for her children. She ate slowly, savoring each bite, while Emeka and Chioma watched her with kind smiles. After the meal, Abeni felt rejuvenated. Emeka and Chioma sat with her in the living room, eager to hear more about her story. As they chatted, Abeni opened up about her life, sharing stories of her late husband and her children's childhoods. Emeka listened intently, his brow furrowed in thought. "I know it's not easy, Mama," Emeka said finally, "but I believe we can find a way to reconnect with your children. Maybe they don't realize how difficult things have become for you." Abeni sighed deeply, her gaze dropping to her hands folded in her lap. "I hope you are right, my son. I don't want to believe that my children have forgotten about me." Chioma leaned forward, her eyes filled with determination. "We will help you, Mama. We will find a way to reach them. But first, you must rest. You've been through so much." That evening, as the sun set over Lagos, casting a golden glow over the city, Abeni lay down on a comfortable bed for the first time in years. She thought about Emeka and Chioma, and how their kindness had brought a ray of hope into her life. She closed her eyes, feeling a sense of peace and comfort that she hadn't known in a long time. The next morning, Emeka and Chioma began making plans to help Abeni. Emeka used his contacts to gather information about Tun, Kemi, and Adewale. It took some time, but eventually they found a lead. Tund, the eldest son, was living in Abuja, working as an engineer. Kemi had moved to Ghana to start a business, and Adewale, the youngest, was in London studying medicine. Emeka sat down with Abeni, showing her the information they had gathered. "We can try reaching out to them, Mama. It might take some time, but I believe they will want to hear from you." Abeni's eyes welled up with tears. She had not heard from her children in so long. The thought of reconnecting with them filled her with both hope and fear. "Thank you, Emeka. You have done so much for me already. I don't know how to repay your kindness." Emeka shook his head, smiling. "You don't need to repay me, Mama. Helping you is my reward." With renewed determination, Abeni decided to write letters to each of her children. She poured her heart into each word, telling them about her struggles and how much she missed them. Emeka promised to send the letters through his contacts and see if they could be delivered. Days turned into weeks as Abeni waited for a response. During this time, she grew closer to Emeka and Chioma, who treated her like family. They took her to see the bustling markets of Lagos, shared stories of their own lives, and even taught her how to use a smartphone. One afternoon, as Abeni sat in the garden, enjoying the cool breeze, Emeka approached her with a letter in his hand. "Mama, there's something for you," he said, handing her the envelope. Abeni's hands trembled as she took the letter. It was from Ton, her eldest son. With tears in her eyes, she opened it and began to read. "Dear Mama," the letter began, "I am so sorry." Abeni's hands shook as she unfolded the letter from Ton. Emeka and Chioma watched quietly, giving her the space she needed to absorb her son's words. "Dear Mama, I am so sorry for everything. I had no idea you were in such a difficult situation. I got caught up in my life and work, and I neglected the most important person in my life, you. Your letter broke my heart, but it also opened my eyes. I can't believe how selfish I've been. I remember all the sacrifices you made for us, how you worked tirelessly to give us a better life. You deserved so much better from us. I am coming to Lagos as soon as I can. I want to make things right. Please forgive me, Mama. Love." Tears streamed down Abeni's face as she read Tun's letter. The words were a balm to her wounded heart. Emeka placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, while Chioma handed her a tissue. "See, Mama," Chioma said softly. "He cares. He's coming back to you." Abeni nodded, wiping her tears. "I've waited so long for this moment," she whispered. "I was so afraid they had forgotten me." Emeka smiled reassuringly. "It's clear they haven't. This is just the beginning. We'll get through this together." In the days that followed, Abeni received responses from Kemi and Adewale as well. Kemi's letter was filled with guilt and regret, mirroring Tun's sentiments. She wrote about her struggles in Ghana and how she had lost touch with family in her pursuit of success. She promised to visit Abeni soon and make amends. Adwale's letter arrived from London. He expressed deep remorse and shame for not staying in contact. He wrote about how his studies had consumed him and how he had convinced himself that their mother was doing fine on her own. He vowed to come home as soon as his semester ended. "Dear Mama, I am so sorry for not being there for you. I can't believe how much time has passed since we last spoke. Your letter made me realize how disconnected I've been from the family, and especially from you. I've been so focused on my studies here in London that I forgot to check in on the most important person in my life. Please forgive me for my neglect. I'll be coming home as soon as my semester ends. I want to see you and make up for lost time. I promise I won't let you down again. Love, Adewale." With each letter, Abeni's heart swelled with hope and relief. She spent her days eagerly anticipating their arrival, dreaming of the moment when she could hold her children again and tell them how much she loved them. A few weeks later, Tand arrived in Lagos. Emeka and Chioma helped arrange a small welcome gathering at their home. Abeni's heart raced with excitement and nervousness as she waited for Tand's arrival. When the doorbell rang, Abeni's breath caught in her throat. Emeka opened the door to reveal Tund, standing there with a suitcase in hand. He looked older and more worn than Abeni remembered, but his eyes were filled with the same love and warmth she had always known. "Mama," Tund exclaimed, rushing to embrace her. Abeni wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly as if afraid to let go. "My son," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You came back to me." Tund held her close, his own eyes brimming with tears. "I'm so sorry, Mama. I'll never leave you again." They sat together, catching up on lost time. Tund shared stories of his life in Abuja, his work, and the challenges he had faced. Abeni listened intently, soaking in every detail, grateful to have her son back by her side. Over the next few days, Tund and Abeni spent a lot of time together. They visited the places where Abeni had spent her childhood, reminiscing about the past and creating new memories. Emeka and Chioma were always nearby, providing support and companionship. A few weeks later, Kemi arrived from Ghana. She walked into the house with a bouquet of flowers and a look of deep regret on her face. Abeni welcomed her with open arms, her heart overflowing with love and forgiveness. "Oh, Mama, I'm so sorry," Kemi cried, hugging Abeni tightly. "I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too, my daughter," Abeni replied, her voice choked with emotion. "But you're here now, and that's all that matters." Kemi spent hours talking with Abeni, sharing her experiences and dreams. She confessed how she had been too proud to ask for help, afraid that her mother would worry. But now, she promised to stay connected and to never let pride come between them again. With Tond and Kemi by her side, Abeni's days were filled with joy and laughter. They took her to the beach, explored the vibrant markets of Lagos, and even visited the local church where Abeni had once been a regular. As the weeks turned into months, Aduel finally arrived from London. He was taller and more mature than Abeni remembered, but his eyes still held the same spark of curiosity and kindness. "Mama," he said softly as he stepped into the house. Abeni rushed to him, wrapping her arms around him in a tight embrace. "My dear Aduel," she murmured, tears of joy streaming down her face. "I've missed you so much." "I'm sorry, Mama," Aduel said, his voice filled with regret. "I should have been there for you. I promised to make it up to you." With all her children now back in her life, Abeni felt a sense of completeness she had long thought lost. Emeka and Chioma had become like family to her, their home a sanctuary where she had found hope and love once more. As they all sat together one evening, sharing a meal and laughter, Abeni looked around the table, her heart overflowing with gratitude. "This is the happiest I've been in a long time," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you all for bringing me back to life." Emeka raised his glass, a warm smile on his face. "To family," he toasted. "May we always find our way back to each other." Months passed, and the once lonely days of Abeni's life were now filled with the laughter and love of her reunited family. With Tond, Kemi, and Aduel around her, Abeni felt a renewed sense of purpose and joy. Emeka and Chioma had become more than just kind strangers. They were like the children she had never had, binding the fabric of her life back together with their warmth and care. Each day brought new adventures. Abeni and her children explored Lagos, visiting the bustling markets, enjoying the local cuisine, and walking through the vibrant streets filled with music and life. They even made a special trip to her old neighborhood, where Abeni pointed out the house where they had grown up and the school they had attended. It was a bittersweet journey, filled with nostalgia and the healing power of revisiting cherished memories. One day, while sitting in the garden with her children and Emeka and Chioma, Abeni's thoughts turned to the future. She looked at the people around her, her heart full of gratitude and love. "My children," Abeni began, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I have something important to discuss with you." They all turned to her, their faces reflecting curiosity and concern. "I've been thinking a lot about what comes next," she continued. "I'm not getting any younger, and while I've found so much happiness being with all of you again, I know that life goes on. You have your lives, your dreams to follow." Tond, Kemi, and Aduel exchanged glances, their expressions serious. "We want you to be happy, Mama," Tund said softly. "We're here for you, whatever you decide." Abeni smiled, reaching out to hold their hands. "Thank you, my dear children. Emeka and Chioma have offered me a place to stay, where I can live comfortably and be surrounded by people who care for me." But I want you to know that my door is always open to you. Kemi leaned in, her eyes shining with tears. We'll visit often, Mama. We promise. Aduel nodded. And we'll stay in touch, no matter where we are. Emeka, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. You will always have a home with us, Mama Abeni. You are part of our family now. Abeni's heart swelled with emotion. She felt blessed to have such love and support around her. Thank you, Emeka Chioma. You've given me a new lease on life. As the weeks turned into months, Abeni settled into her new life with Emeka and Chioma. Her children kept their promises, visiting her regularly and staying in touch through phone calls and video chats. Each visit brought joy and laughter, creating new memories to cherish. One bright morning, as Abeni sat in the garden watching the sun rise, she felt a deep sense of peace. The years of hardship and loneliness seemed like a distant memory. She had found a new family, new friends, and a renewed connection with her children. Life had come full circle, and she was content. Emeka joined her in the garden, bringing 2 cups of steaming tea. Good morning, Mama, he greeted warmly, handing her a cup. Good morning, Emeka, Abeni replied, smiling up at him. It's a beautiful day. Emeka sat beside her, taking a sip of his tea. Indeed it is. How are you feeling today? Abeni looked at the blooming flowers around her, the gentle sway of the trees in the breeze, and the warmth of the sun on her face. I feel at peace, she said softly. I'm surrounded by love, and for that, I am grateful. Emeka nodded, his eyes reflecting the morning's light. You've brought so much joy into our lives, Mama. We're the ones who are grateful. As they sat together in the serene garden, Abeni reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From the streets of Lagos to the warmth of Emeka and Chioma's home, she had found her way back to happiness, surrounded by the love of family and friends. And in that moment, Abeni knew that no matter what the future held, she had found her place, and her heart was finally at home. Years later, the story of Abeni's reunion with her children and the kindness of Emeka and Chioma became a cherished tale in their community. Abeni lived out her days surrounded by love, her life a testament to the power of hope, family, and the kindness of strangers. She passed peacefully in her sleep, a smile on her face, knowing she was deeply loved and never alone. Emeka and Chioma continued to honor Abeni's memory, welcoming others into their home who needed love and support, just as they had welcomed Abeni. Her children remained close, their bond stronger than ever, forever grateful for the second chance to show their mother the love and care she had always given them. And in the heart of Lagos, where the sun set over the bustling city, Abeni's story lived on, a reminder that no matter how difficult life may become, love and kindness can light the way back to happiness.